Welcome to the Lord and Richards Show, a program that will enable you to become more financially independent and prosperous from a biblical point of view. Tune in each week to learn how to prosper through good markets and bad. Now, here's our co-hosts, Colin Richards, your biblical investment advisor, and Dylan Schoonover.
Welcome into the Lord and Richards Show. My name is Dylan Schoonover, and I'm joined by CEO and founder Colin Richards of Lord and Richards. Colin, we're talking about global and geographic considerations for folks that have maybe moved around during retirement. I know that you guys have a lot of clients that come in that say, oh, we just learned about you. We moved in from blank, wherever it was, California, Alabama, Tennessee. They come from all over the country. Turns out Colorado and Texas are pretty nice places to live where you operate with the firm. And so, different things happen when you've got a high affluence of investments, but you're moving to a new place. So what are some considerations that you take into account when you have a new client coming in from a new place?
Well, depending on which location we're talking about, if we're talking about our Denver or our Dallas area, one of the big items is sticker shock. A lot of times people don't realize as they come into a new area just how difficult it can be to maintain the same lifestyle. Some of our clients actually move to other states in order to reduce their cost of living. Real estate is a big one. In Colorado especially, we've seen a major uptick in real estate. And one of the problems that sometimes people don't research in advance, though they may be able to afford the home, they've got to look closely at those property taxes, because property taxes can take a big bite. And of course, we had a lot of complaints about that in Colorado as folks realized, wow, the appraisers have suddenly appraised my house for 30% more, increased my taxes, and a lot of us fought that, and pretty much most of us failed. And so now we're just living with that reality, that increase on that monthly check going out to the property taxes.
Yeah, well, someone who grew up in Kansas, the property taxes were about double of that of the home in Colorado, but the home cost in Colorado was like 3 or 4 times more. So that was difficult when I made that transition. So I understand how that could feel for a client. And when they come in, they may be talking about, what does your process look like? What do things look like here? But they're also maybe talking about my budgeting and my situation financially has to change a little bit. So they may have had a great plan, but now they got to completely recalibrate it. And how do you guys go about doing that?
Well, again, we're going to redo that budget. So whether you're on the brink of retirement or still working and you've made that move, we're going to want to help you and come alongside of you to actually get something written down. Most of us are kind of flying by the seat of our pants when it comes to ordinary expenses. We kind of know what those things cost. But when you move into a new area, hopefully you've done your research. You know what things cost, you've kind of gotten on the ground, gotten the lay of the land, and you're not surprised and shocked by that. But once you get over that, now you've got to build that into part of your retirement plan. And your retirement plan actually starts before you retire. So we take a snapshot, we call it a retirement expense report, not a budget. Sounds very constraining, but we want you to build that out. And the fun thing that we can do that it's hard to do as an individual is having seen thousands of these budgets and, retirement expense plan, having seen thousands of these, we can help remind you, hey, don't forget about this, don't forget about that. We would rather, as we run our projections forward and take into account things like inflation, we'd rather you be pleasantly surprised than unpleasantly surprised that maybe things weren't as expensive as you thought, or maybe you didn't spend as much and now you got a surplus rather than a deficit.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And what's your take on movement overall as a retiree? Like, do you like the concept, or do you think, look, if you've had your home for a long time, there's a minimal amount due on it, keep it and don't mess with that and go restart that game? Or how do you look at that?
Be careful who you listen to when you're making a decision to move. A move is a big deal. You leave behind a social circle, a social safety net of people that you've gotten used to, and you may not realize how much you might miss them. Sometimes folks leave behind kids and grandkids, and I recently had a conversation to someone who moved. They moved to someplace with lower taxes, a more conservative political environment, which is what they were looking for, lower cost of real estate. I mean, it was a win right across the board on their balance sheet and their income and expense report, but they hate it. They literally said, we can't stand it anymore and we're moving back.
Oh, wow.
So that, of course, is expensive, right? You're paying the costs of selling on the property you're leaving. You're paying those costs on the property you're going to. Then you're selling it again. Then you're buying again. It can be a real tough thing to go through that multiple times. So really think it through. I think, again, kind of like trying out retirement in advance, try moving in advance. Take a couple months, get yourself some type of an extended arrangement. You can Airbnb it. It might cost you a few $1,000s, but knowing if you really like the area before you go there and you can feel comfortable living there and you have a great social circle. For some people, it's important to have a church that they feel really comfortable with or some type of club that they join. I think that would pay off in dividends, the expense of taking a couple months and going someplace to check it out first.
Wise advice. Sometimes people will say, well, this has been my dream destination, and then it doesn't so much feel like a dream once you're there. So that would be a very costly mistake for your example you gave where they had to move back, because I'm guessing the house they're buying, they don't have any equity on it like they did on the one they sold. So
yeah, a lot of that equity gets chewed up in those transactions, right? You're paying the agent, you've got taxes potentially, depending on how far you are above the deduction. And this is only compounded when we introduce an international destination, which we can go into more if you like.
Yes.
But as we move overseas, which is some people's dream, we've got a whole different set of considerations.
Yeah, I've seen people go to Cabo, some other places in Mexico, and it sounds nice on paper because, hey, we can get a really large house for $100,000. But, what are the upsides and downsides to that?
Right, they literally live out the expression, it's a nice place to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there. And they discover that. And again, you're cutting a lot of ties, and repairing some of those ties might not be as easy to undo and redo as we would imagine in our minds. And so that's where, again, I say try it out first. Yes, maybe if you want to move to South America, you envision the Costa Rica pura vida, right? Beautiful lifestyle, pure life. But then you get down there and it's like, these people move too slow, my food doesn't get served fast enough, whatever it is that maybe contradicts your way of doing life, have an easy way to undo that. And I think, again, having someplace, an Airbnb or someplace that you can stay for 2 or 3 months, really soak in that lifestyle and decide if that's something you want to do long term.
Yeah, things can get all bumbled or jumbled up pretty quickly if you're not careful with that. But the other thing is taxes, like you talked about a little bit. Those can vary widely state to state. And so there could be the upside that there's an advantage to moving if you are really comfortable, or maybe your kids move somewhere and you had the intent to live right there. That could be a big win too, right?
Yeah, well, I think of the state where I grew up mostly. We were a military family, so we moved around, but seemed to camp out in Florida pretty long, there in Tampa at MacDill Air Force Base. But having a state with a large amusement park that basically pays the bills is really nice when you have no state income tax, right?
Yeah.
And whatever that is, we have one in Colorado, so that's obviously affecting us. It's part of the decision-making that people make. But you've also got to work in, you talked a little bit about other types of taxes in places like Kansas where you think, oh, the property value is low, but what are those property taxes? Sometimes those can be extremely high. I know that we did a brief stint in Kansas and were pleasantly surprised when we moved to Colorado with the reduction in those taxes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when we come back from the break, we're going to take a little deeper dive into this and take a look if you really should look to move or maybe you want to stay put.
You're watching The Lord and Richards Show, a program that can help you become more financially independent. Tune in to learn how you could become prosperous during good times and bad.
Just pick up the phone and give us a call at 720-372-0400. That's 720-372-0400 for your complimentary retirement freedom review. Or check us out online at lordandrichards.com.
You're watching The Lord and Richards Show, a program that can help you become more financially independent. Tune in to learn how you could become prosperous during good times and bad.
Welcome back to the Lord and Richards Show. We are talking about whether to move, not to move, how you make decisions in retirement of what's going to affect you, geographic considerations, and let's go international. It's fun to talk about, international destinations. It sounds beautiful on the surface. You've probably got some great experiences of where you visited. Would you live everywhere you've gone?
Absolutely not, Dylan. I know you're a world traveler as well. You love to see amazing places, but some of those places might be missing things that you've grown accustomed to. For example, does it have a McDonald's, right? That's going to be important to some people. Well, the good news is McDonald's is almost everywhere. I think you could walk through the Sahara Desert and find one of those beautiful arches buildings right in front of you. But Other things might be a bit more challenging. First of all, I do travel a lot, especially for our foundation work. And there are parts of the world, we call them third world or second world, that may lack conveniences or necessities that you will come to miss.
Or developing countries.
Yeah, the developing world. Great place to invest, but do you really want to camp there and live there? Now, I've met a lot of people. I find that people who want to live abroad overseas just have a different outlook, right? And you might be that person. You might be a little wild, a little free in your spirit, and you want to go try something just completely off the radar. Culture shock is real, though. I remember the first time I made my way through Japan. You've been through Japan, and it's different, right? We ain't in Kansas anymore, aren't we?
No, definitely not, especially when you put that twang on it.
Yep, and years ago, I was like, where is everything in English? I assumed the whole world did that.
That's very American of
And
you.
so I'm literally looking at something that I cannot read. I don't even understand what the symbols mean, and I'm kind of having to point and grunt and make gestures, and of course talk louder, because people understand you better if you talk louder in a language that they don't have.
I think the grunting probably got through great.
But in all seriousness, we have scores of people that we support overseas, and simple things that can be treated medically here in the States or in a developed nation often are catastrophic in the developing world. And so we've got people that we support that have to have transfusions on a regular basis. We fly them out of the countries that are in because of the poor medical care and fly them to other countries like Singapore, where they can get, top-rated care. So it's important to have a plan for that in advance. Even if you're just traveling, having the ability to get a medevac out of a foreign country that may not have adequate medical facilities to deal with something is important, and there's insurance that will provide that, and the insurance is often reasonable. But as an expatriate, somebody who's living abroad, that's probably one of the top considerations is healthcare.
Yeah, I think we also have a lot of rights and considerations in America that may not be afforded to us other places, right?
Yeah, I remember the first time I visited Jamaica. I'm going to go back there for fun, but the first time I went, I was part of a mission group that was just there sharing God's love, and I saw one of the outdoor jail cells. And I was like, what is this? And so criminals get placed in these. They're outside. They do have a roof over their head, but there's no food or anything provided. And the family has to come along and provide the food to sustain life for that person that's been incarcerated that way. Wow. So the whole world does not necessarily march to the drum of fair treatment, equal rights, and so forth. Yeah. And you need to be prepared for the potential dangers to yourself and to your family. One of the countries I've traveled in, it was Cambodia. I remember I was on the motos, which are the preferred mode of transportation. They're like mini bikes, little mini motorcycles. And in Phnom Penh, as we're moving through these vast intersections of them, accidents are inevitable. My knees were passing inches from semi-trucks and other things. And so while it was the thrill of a life, it was also the scare of a lifetime. But later on, the individual that was my host said, here, if there's an accident, everybody just leaves because the crowd will literally blame you and mob you and kill you right on the spot.
Yeah.
So there's places in the world like that. And so before you get captivated by the romantic vision, make sure you understand everything about where you're going and what the dangers are to you and your family.
You're exactly right. When I was in Kenya, that was the same situation. They said if somebody hits a moped like a semi-truck driver, they'll pull them out of the car and stone them right there on the spot. And I was like, whoa, like that's just a different kind of justice.
You got to give them points for swift justice.
Yeah, there's no...
I'm not talking about decades on death row.
No, but I also think I now do not want to get arrested ever, but certainly not in Jamaica, where if nobody's else there with me, I'm going to starve to death, basically, is what you're telling me.
Right, and with your driving, you probably should just avoid that country altogether.
But it sounds like my view might be all right if I'm looking out at the ocean as I die. So
yes.
there is that.
They're not putting the jail cells on prime real estate.
Oh, it's not prime real estate. No. It's not like you were right next to the Jamaican resort and then the jail was right next to it.
Right.
That's not how that works. So, well, wishful thinking on my part. But so the point is that consideration needs to strongly be considered. And it sounds like you would say, look, I advocate potentially for, if not at least spending a lot of time there, maybe just considering to do a lot of vacationing in retirement, not necessarily up and moving your whole life somewhere.
I think that's a great solution if you've developed a retirement freedom plan, which Lord & Richards comes alongside and does for you, where you aren't constrained by what we call a fixed income. In other words, all my assets and resources have to provide the necessities of life. And one of our specialties at at Lord & Richards is freeing up dollars that other types of plans would require you to use to support yourself. We free up dollars by using vehicles that generate more income, more sustainable income, more abundant income, so that you can take money and partition it off to enjoy those things and yet still have the connection to friends, to family, to home. If you are going to take that plunge, as I said, and as you just reminded our audience, do it temporarily. Spend a few months, get something temporary, and then process that and maybe consider a few alternatives. Don't just narrow it to one place. I know people travel the world and they say, oh, I just love it. You know, I love Italy. Do I want to necessarily live there? I'd need to know more. Even though I've been there, I've been to the tourist locations. I would need to go and live in a more normal place, a place where you can get typical housing, not tourist housing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and that perspective is going to be a lot different. You never know exactly what you're going to get until you get there. You mentioned Italy. I saw that they had dollar homes available in certain areas because they could not get people to go to some of these remote locations. So I feel like that wouldn't be too bad of a return on investment. If you're out $1 and you got a piece of property, you know, not too bad. But all right, well, we'll move on from that. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk a little bit more about how we build this all into the plan. Sometimes spending can get a little out of whack versus reality versus what people start doing, and how Lord & Richards keeps that all on track. So we'll be back with you very shortly.
You're watching the Lord & Richards Show, a program that can help you become more financially independent. Tune in to learn how you could become prosperous during good times and bad.
Just pick up the phone and give us a call at 720-372-0400. That's 720-372-0400 for your complimentary retirement freedom review. Or check us out online at lordandrichards.com.
You're watching the Lord & Richards Show, a program that can help you become more financially independent. Tune in to learn how you could become prosperous during good times and bad.
Welcome back to the Lord & Richards Show. We are talking about relocation globally or just stateside, and whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. And kind of what we've surmised so far is that it might be best to consider where you're going, spend a lot of time there before actually jumping in and taking the dive, if you will. And that leads me to a question for you, Colin, being the expert that you are, is how often do you see people say, yeah, you know, this is what we're going to do, this is the amount of travel we'd like to do for the year, and you guys build out the perfect plan, and then the next thing you know, somebody is not traveling at all, or they're going the opposite route and they're just blowing through 2 or 3 years of the budget on how much travel is going to be. Is that, do you see that transpire sometimes?
Oh yeah, like daily, Dylan. So there is no perfect plan. I love, we were joking a little bit about Mike Tyson and his famous quote, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, right? Well, life tends to be a shifting sand. It's not asphalt, it's not concrete, it's moving under your feet. And so we're having to roll. The couple that I chatted with that said, hey, we hate our new residence. We've lived there a couple years now and we're ready to move back. That means we're going to have to roll with the plan. So although Lord & Richards delivers you a beautifully bound leather portfolio with your beautiful plan written on paper, I always tell folks, look, this is obsolete the minute you walk out the door because life is going to happen. Needs are going to change. People are going to be born into your world or marry into your world that you're going to want to be a part of your legacy and estate. Everything's going to be in constant flux. So we're ready for that at Lord & Richards. We don't issue a plan and then say, you know, come back to us in 5 years and we'll see how it's going. We are talking constantly to our clients and making those adjustments. And the cool part is that plan lives not just on a piece of paper, it lives in the digital realm. So we can make adjustments quickly. We can adjust how much income you're taking. We can reduce or increase that income. But that opens up another door, another conversation where sometimes you said people might be overspending. I don't like that one as much. I'd rather they be underspending and I'm talking them into spending more. But if we're overspending, having an advisor that will have the courage and that you can trust to tell you, hey folks, looks like your budget, your expenses are getting higher than is sustainable over a period of time. Here are your options. That's a very important relationship as well.
Yeah, those conversations are important and difficult, I would imagine, because it's a lot more fun to go, get out, let's let the money fly, let's have a good time, go live your life in your go-go stage. But, you know, that's something that you do have to draw it back sometimes. And I think that probably happens more often with folks that are coming in for the first time than maybe your existing clients who have hopefully a really good understanding of what the Lord & Richards plan says.
Yes, I have one great client who, although she was widowed, she found a fabulous place to live. She was a get up and go type of person. She bought this beautiful condo looking out on the river, and I'm kind of looking at these expenses adding up, and brand new car, and even a special little dog, and money's just flowing out. And finally, I just had to tell her, hey, do you realize that this isn't sustainable?
So did you whack the dog?
No, we didn't whack the dog. That was less expensive than the car. But
okay.
Actually, she didn't change anything. She basically said, yeah, I know. She said, I'm going to do this for a few years, and then I'm going to move in with my daughter in another state.
Oh, okay.
So she already had it worked out in her mind.
Did her daughter know about this?
Well, she eventually found out. She's there now.
So you look at the financial plan that kind of gets built. It's got maybe a twinge of more of like a dry erase marker on a whiteboard than, say, polyurethane on a floor. Like, it's something that has a lot of adjustments, right?
Yes, it's something not set in stone, not permanent, not concrete, not polyurethane. It's something that needs to be continuously and constantly adjusted and optimized.
So walk us through what that process looks like. How does Lord & Richards take you from, hey, I came in, here's all my stuff, it's in the junk drawer, organize it? What does that look like? Does it cost money? How do we do that?
Well, a lot of people work with a single advisor who tries to juggle all this. So they're the same advisor who helped introduce you to the firm and its philosophy, to place you in the financial tools. And a lot of times we think that that same person has to do everything. They got to change my beneficiaries when those change, kind of the junk drawer principle. They've got to, fix this, fix that. So they're kind of working with a handyman that does an okay job at a lot of things. Where we've changed that paradigm at Lord & Richards is we have built a team of specialists around each of our clients. And they're not the same exact people. Different clients will have different people surrounding them. But they include certified financial planners who know how to not only plan, but do it in a way that's sustainable and will last the rest of your life. We've got tax experts who will not only help you plan and have a great tax plan that's written down, but also even help you prepare, if you're an accredited investor, those taxes. We've got the estate planning expertise. We've got the expertise in risk management and investment and wealth building. So it's a little bit different experience when people come from a place where maybe they've got the one-size-fits-all individual that's trying to be that handyman versus a whole team of specialists that have expertise in precise areas.
I think it's a lot different, actually. I would say that you get so many different holistic elements here that bring in even the enrolled agent factor, that you guys can do taxes for high net worth earners that are clients of ours. That's a big deal because people, love to hear the fact that, okay, on average, we'll save people 4 figures in their taxes last year, just on average of the clients that we filed. And so that makes a big difference to the bottom line if you can bring that all into one place instead of having to go here and here and here and here. I don't know about you, but it's not my favorite thing to go to 7 different places if I could get the resource in one spot.
Yeah, I feel like the way financial planning has been working over the decades is that, it'd be like if you tried to fix your car and you had to go one place to fix the steering and another place to fix the suspension, another place to work on the engine. That would be a nightmare process, but somehow we've accepted all that. At Lord & Richards, we want to bring that under one roof. And the key there is each area is talking to the other. So if we're doing something to assist you with developing a plan to make sure you're not bankrupted by healthcare costs later on, that's not contradicting or overruling a more important goal somewhere else, like in your taxes or in your risk management.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that, on this topic of travel and geographic considerations, it makes a lot of sense that when they walk into your office, they see beautiful places and spaces that they could go and visit, but you say, hey, let's visit those before we make any big dives off anywhere else, right?
Absolutely. It would be my dream to have Lord & Richards of Paris, Lord & Richards of London, and so forth. That's a completely different economic environment. The financial tools, the services, the regulations are all different. But I'd love to be able to help our expatriates by being able to sit down locally wherever they move in the world.
Yeah. Well, what does the French stock market look like? How are we looking for assets over there?
I haven't a clue. French fries is the closest French thing that I keep an eye on.
Pommes frites, I think is what they may call it. But
frites, yeah.
That would be something if the Lord & Richards name, and people do say the logo looks a little bit like a royal crest, so I feel like Scotland should be introduced in there as well. If you're going to go international, I'm just saying.
Yes, the Richards logo was modified and set up. Yeah, that's where that comes from. People ask us about the Lord & Richards, and they think, what, are you like Barclays, some bank or whatever? I'm like, no, it's just me. And about 20 other people, that are helping you.
Of course. Well, it does take a team, and we are here at Lord & Richards to be able to provide and help. Thank you so much, Colin, for joining us today, giving us some insight on all of that. I think it's good, sound advice. We look forward to seeing you again next time on the Lord & Richards Show.
Just pick up the phone and give us a call at 720-372-0400. That's 720-372-0400 for your complimentary retirement freedom review. Or check us out online at lordandrichards.com.
Take the first step toward securing your financial future. Request an appointment today. Whether you're planning for retirement, managing your wealth, or optimizing your business finances, we're ready to help you achieve your goals. Visit us online at lordandrichards.com for your complimentary retirement freedom review. Investment advisory services offered through Lord and Richards Wealth Management, a registered investment advisor. You're watching the Lord and Richards Show, a program that can help you become more financially independent. Tune in to learn how you could become prosperous during good times and bad.